The floods in Accra last year caused several deaths and brought misery to many communities. At the time, Mayor Van der Poel assured us that floods of this nature would be consigned to history. Well, the rains are almost upon us again, and we're asking, what is being done to prevent a reoccurrence? There are numerous reasons for the flooding, but let's start with the basics. Urbanization. Julian Baskin of Cities Alliance explains.
The question is not whether urbanization is good or bad. The question is urbanization is a fact, and the sooner you deal with the fact and manage it in a proactive way, the better for everyone.
You say manage, what do you mean?
I mean, when someone comes to the city, what do they find? Do they find a city prepared for urbanization, or do we find a situation where people come into the city, they have to fight the system and find usually completely unsuitable pieces of land to settle, find accommodation anywhere which they can, and you begin to have a chaotic city in conflict with itself and a city which is characterized by slums.
It's a daily occurrence, the daily influx of people into Accra who have come and will not go back. It takes very little to settle in Accra. Within 2 days, you pick a spot around UTC, and you're doing your kebab, and off you go.
It sounds chaotic.
It is. I mean, you take Accra's population. It's not even the quantum of the population that I'm worried. It's the growth rate that I'm worried about. It's the growth rate, okay?
Urban planner Frank Taki points out that while cities like London and New York are growing at a rate of under 1%, Accra has a growth rate of 4%, making it one of the fastest growing cities in Africa.
It's irreversible. The question is, what is your strategy to manage the growth?
Frank Taki says there's no strategy at all. It's common knowledge that here in Accra, development runs faster than planning, evidenced by haphazard development, illegal squatting, inadequate infrastructure, hopelessly congested roads, poor drainage, and flooding. By rights, there's no need for the flooding. 3 natural catchment basins, or rivers, run through the city, the most important being the Odo. To increase their carrying capacity, they've been cemented and canalized. In times of heavy rain, these canals contain the runoff, carrying the excess water via the Korle Lagoon to the sea.
That's nature's plan for you. And you can protect those basins, and you have nature's exit.
That's in theory. Reality paints a different picture, an ugly one. In total disregard of city bylaws, communities have illegally built in waterways and encroached on the river edges. And the Odo Canal has been turned into little more than a garbage dump. The canal is completely choked by scrap metal, car tires, household waste, feces, fridges, stoves, and a sea of plastic. Once the rains come, it bursts its banks. And here is the Korle Lagoon, once a pristine body of water. Today it's nothing but a toxic cesspit, so choked with garbage you can literally walk across the water. Taiko Tego of the EMA picks up the story.
The lagoon is choked with all sorts of filthy materials.
Coming from where? From the surrounding, along the Odo?
From the surrounding land, the inlet into the lagoon, from the Odo and then the Onyasia streams that empty into the lagoon. Because the lagoon is a receptacle for most of these streams and drainage systems in Accra. So what the drainage systems bring into the lagoon is what stays in there.
And what stays in there blocks the flow of storm water to the sea. There's nothing new about the problem. Back in 1995, at a cost of $96 million, a pumping station and treatment plant was built on the lagoon edge to alleviate the problem. Today it stands idle, no less choked than the lagoon it is meant to serve. An expensive white elephant, says Emmanuel Nkrumah of the World Bank.
When the infrastructure is in place, who takes care of it? Who operates it? Who maintains it? And I think that is where our problem is. If you're not able to operate and bring in your maintenance, whatever thing you put in place will become a mess.
Mayor Van der Poel announced that it will take some $500 million to solve the city's drainage woes. Emmanuel Nkrumah is skeptical.
Some of us, we do not really buy this whole thing about putting everything on money, money, money. It's maintenance, it's culture, it's attitude. How much does it take to maintain what you have? That is the key.
Maintenance is irrelevant when you talk of Old Fadama, commonly known as Sodom and Gomorrah. There is nothing to maintain. A hellhole of squalor and deprivation, Old Fadama is an illegal squatter community, quite literally in the middle of the Korle Lagoon. Ex-Mayor Natamate Few reflects.
It's one of the lessons I learned when I was mayor, that if you don't want a settlement to establish itself, get rid of it as soon as you see its first stirrings, because getting rid of 1 or 2 buildings, that's purely administrative. Getting rid of 10 buildings, you're looking at a political act with consequences.
And so it was with Old Fadama. In the early 90s, refugees from the north, fleeing wars and drought, started coming to Accra in numbers. At the time, Old Fadama was a dump site that had been recently cleared by the AMA, and it was here that they settled. As numbers grew, sawdust from the nearby timber market was dumped in the lagoon to soak up water and increase available land for people desperate for a place to live. And the process continues today. And the bigger the community, the bigger the obstacle in the path of flood water on its way to the sea.
I always tell people that Sodom and Gomorrah, the next floods, that will be to the tune of what we had in 1994. None of them will survive. It's better they face the consequences now and move.
Nobody knows for sure, but today its population is estimated at between 50 and 80,000 people. Why didn't you just nip it in the bud?
Well, it's easy for you sitting down here to say so, but it's an illegal settlement filled with human beings who have real needs.
These things need to be managed because of the political sensitivity of the issues involved. You understand? Because then people say, how can you accommodate Liberian refugees, and then your own people come and settle on a place, and then you want to get them out?
But they're settled in the wrong place.
The people from day one knew that, look, we're somewhere we shouldn't be in the first place. Unfortunately, human feelings and these things is what has kept them there, and the numbers have multiplied beyond reasonable management now.
You're talking about human rights, but you're just helping them to drown.
That is the argument of some school of thought, that they also have rights to be at the wrong place. And I believe that if everybody should live at the wrong place, we'll never have any serious development.
We went into Old Fadama to hear their side of the story, and we were appalled at what we found. No power, no running water, no sanitation, no drains, schools or clinics.
We need the government to also come and look at us. What is your argument? Sometimes I think government doesn't do anything because it keeps describing you as an illegal settlement. What do you say to that? Oh, yes. We will not dispute that fact. We will not dispute that fact. But all the same, we are now here. We are now here. Either we are illegal or we are not illegal, we are Ghanaians. And the poverty back at north. Yes. You see, those who are here, any child that you see here, is a breadwinner back at north. They come here to help their parents. Their parents cannot send them to schools. That's why they are here. What do the people who live here do for a living, mainly? Okay, we have scrap dealers. Okay. We have Kayo. I think the girls who go to the market to buy the Kayo. Because without them, the market can't even work. Good. Without the people in the market there, the market can work. The day that we block them not to go so that we will clean this community. The whole thing. The whole market was collapsed. So wherever you go, they will ask where the Kairos. Where are they? Where are they? Because without them, we cannot more function. We cannot more work in our various stores.
Some of us are educated, well, they have learned, but because of financial problems, we have to come here and look for them.
So what do you do for a living?
We are carrying things.
In the market?
In the market. If you are not supposed to be here, then government should find a place whereby we can also live like a woman being.
But government is saying that it is an illegal place. You keep saying government should do something.
But if it is a legal place, as far as we are Ghanaians, he must do something, of course.
Yeah. They say we are illegal. Yes. Fine. But during the campaign time, yes, they flow here. They come here to come and talk to you. To come and talk to us. You see, I think that's a very interesting point you make. You are saying, they say you are illegal, but as soon as they have a political campaign, they come here to talk to you. NDC will come, MPP will come, PPP will come, CPP will come. They will flow in here and they are looking for our vote.
According to community consultant Teiko Tego, politics is a serious impediment to progress. Politics meaning what?
Politics meaning maybe a government wants to do something. Somebody in the opposition say, oh no, don't do it, don't accept it. They want to deprive you of your property or they want to do
You mean they are playing politics?
Politics around these things. And definitely once there is that, then people will resist the need for change.
That must be very difficult in terms of your community work because everyone belongs to one party or the other.
That is why in doing this activity, I must be as neutral as possible. You must be a unifier. You must not put on a jersey.
You talk about politics as if it's a football team.
Oh, yes. I mean, it's obvious. It's competition.
But that's the wrong way to go about it.
And that is what we have to change as a people. That once we have a government, the government is supposed to...
All of us. Represent
serve all of us and represent all of us. So we then put it aside, give the corporation the necessary support and cooperation so that we make sure we do what is right for ourselves and the generations yet unborn. But if we want to put politics in that, then we'll never move anywhere. We will get started and we'll be where we are. And then progress passes us by. And that's the unfortunate thing that is happening in most of our communities when we are playing politics with common sense.
And common sense says that the people of Old Fadama must move.
If we want genuine and proper development, we need to make sure we play by the rules. And that is what democracy and the rule of law is all about.
You have the systems in place. You have town and country planning. They know the waterways. They know where to build. They have all the land use maps. They have it. Who enforces it? If I stay in a community and you think that I also have a responsibility for that, come and tell me. If there are certain laws governing my responsibility that should be enforced, enforce it. If I flout those laws, make sure that I get punished for that. Don't leave those things to my conscience. Let the laws and the bylaws work. Make sure, because that's what makes you a leader.
Enforcement is a perennial problem, and politics raises its ugly head once again. It's no secret that the AMA is not autonomous. Funded largely by central government, it is vulnerable to political interference.
Only a couple of months ago, the current mayor, Alfred van der Poel, was hauled onto the carpet, criticized heavily for trying to break down kiosks located at unauthorized locations. Every mayor has had that experience.
But don't lay all the blame at the doorstep of the AMA, says Teiko Tego.
Some people have to be in charge in taking action, but then it should be in conjunction with the people, the beneficiaries. If the beneficiaries are not prepared to play ball, there's nothing much the civil servant can do. You understand? And under a participatory democracy, or the system we are operating, which is decentralization and participatory democracy, it means all of us must be involved.
The World Bank's Emmanuel Nkrumah sees it differently.
The key word is accountability. Who are we accountable to? Are we accountable to the people of Ghana, or we are accountable to someone who appointed us? It's not the people that you are going to hold responsible. Who is the leader? Who is responsible? He must take responsibility.
The mayor?
Yes.
Well, we've been out there and people have had their say and you've seen it all for yourselves. But this is where the buck stops. So we've come to the AMA to speak to the mayor.
Mayor van der Poel, first of all, let me thank you for your time. Very much appreciate the opportunity to have an interview with you. We have been looking around at the city, especially because we know the rains are around the corner. And the last time rains were here, I recall you saying that much of that would be consigned to history. But I must say that as we go around the city and we look at the situation with drains and so on, it is hard for me to see how you're going to keep that promise.
Since this administration has been in office, we have had two floods, major ones. The first one, we had the death of 7 members of this community and huge loss of properties. Then last year, we have the loss of 12 persons, individuals, and the loss of heavy properties.
So it's getting worse.
Yes.
But it's getting worse, but you are the mayor, and you're
Yes.
saying it's getting worse.
Yes, it's getting worse because, you know, there has been a high level of negligence in the past where we have not done what I believe we should be doing.
You are the mayor. Do you feel that you have the power and the authority to do the things that you want to do?
Yes, yes. You see, as the chief executive of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, every issue of this city is the issue with the mayor. The buck stops with the mayor.
Fantastic. So explain to me why, therefore, if the buck stops with the mayor, we spend some time going on why there are still substantial issues of waste management. I mean, the city may have made progress in certain respects. I'd be the first to accept that. But it is hard to see what has happened with regard to things like waste management and that sort of thing, Mayor?
Accra generates over 4,000 tons of refuse a day. So we have engaged 9 companies, 9 waste management companies, and they are responsible for supplying and registering residents in Accra, supplying them with bins, and then coming up with a program to lift and collect their refuse.
And they charge them for it, don't they?
And they charge them.
But is that possible? Must they charge them for it? I mean, in an environment like this, I mean, we have seen clearly that there are lots of places that people would simply just ignore a dustbin because they cannot afford to pay for it anyway. Well, so what is the point in putting it there if they won't pay for it? They won't use it.
Yes, my brother, you know, in all communities of the world, the cities where you and I love to go, outside Accra, you know, and outside Africa, Europe or Americas, you know, people pay for the disposal of their refuse.
But they have the means to. I mean, here, let's speak about some of the communities in Accra, Mayor. Yesterday we went to the famous Old Fadama, which people like to call Sodom and Gomorrah. I'm wary to describe it like that, but Old Fadama.
Yes.
I mean, in many ways, Mayor, that should not even exist.
Thank you for saying that. You say that should not exist.
But it is your responsibility, isn't it? So why?
It is the responsibility of AMA to ensure that there are proper planning in place. Yeah. But you know, I began by saying that we have allowed some level of negligence. And the creation of Sodom and Gomorrah is one of the negligence, and the results is what we are saying.
It's getting worse.
But look, the AMA have said that the existence of Sodom and Gomorrah should not be allowed one day more than it needs to be there.
What are you going to do about it?
The commercial activities, because the timber market is a commercial activity. It has outgrown the place, so it needs to be moved out of Accra. The yam market, the same. The onion market, in other words, the bulk breaking activities that is in that part of the city, that brings so many residents and so many people into the area, those activities will have to move out of the city.
Where will you relocate these activities to?
Plans are in place to relocate them to Ajen Kotoku, which is between Accra and Media or Nsawam.
These people understand that this will happen and they agree with it, Mayor. Is that correct?
Yes.
Or do you foresee people refusing to move?
Well, you know, I believe that once we have relocated the commercial activities for which the people live and do business around these things, some of them will find their places. And then we have to make the firm decision.
There have been many instances where you've tried to move shacks, you just, in many cases, tried to tidy up very places, and you've been stopped. Is that not true?
No, I have never been
You have
stopped.
never been stopped from moving anything? You don't feel any pressure from political people who are always concerned about elections and that sort of thing and not wanting you to upset, quote unquote, an electorate? Are you telling me honestly you never feel that kind of pressure?
No.
How is that possible?
Look, I know and understand the game. I'm a son of this great city. My dad was a chief in Accra for 37 years. General Ankra was my uncle. It is in honor of their name that I have to stand up to do the right thing. And also,
if you do the right thing, you're taking risks. You can get sacked for doing the right
thing.
Fine.
But you see, if I get sacked for doing the right thing, that's an honor. You understand? If I get sacked for doing the right thing,
you're prepared to stand up and do the right thing, even if the authorities that be ask you to slow down.
But listen,
this is election year, Mayor. Remember that this is election year.
My brother, look, given the level of indiscipline that has existed before this administration came to office, there is no way you would attempt to do the right thing and think that everybody is going to wave flags at you. If you have conditions and you want to make them better, you cannot compromise, because to compromise means that you will continue the same thing that you have done in the past and it will give you the same results. I am not here to waste anybody's time and not mine. We have conditions here under which people are dying. We have conditions here that sometimes are not anything to write home. You have schools that are not producing quality children or students. You have hospitals that are not meeting people's needs.
Whose fault, Mayor?
You see, it's all of us our fault.
Why? I mean,
but
the buck stops with you.
But the time has come for us to stand up and say, look, we want to change this. And to make that decision is not an easy decision. And when you go out to implement it, it is not easy. So I am not looking for people who will put their arms around me and praise me and praise me. And then when you go out to implement it, it is not easy. Yes, sometimes it will affect people's lives. Sometimes it will affect people's conditions of living. But you have to look at the end result. You see it over there. You see that lady, that picture over there. You see, last year when the rains came, this lady was killed. 25-year-old student was killed because a simple wall collapsed on him.
That will happen again. That is going to happen again.
Yeah,
the rain is around the corner.
Because you see, so that's why when I look at situations like that, I cannot compromise. I have to make the right decision.
Last week or 2 weeks ago, I noticed you looking around in the papers, some of these drains, the rubbish and so on. And I noticed that you said that it was their responsibility. You were critical of the waste management officials and so on. But I didn't quite understand that because they work under you.
Yes.
So the buck stops with you. I keep coming back to that.
Yes, yes.
You're the one that we must hold accountable. You are the mayor of this city.
They themselves know that they deserve to be blamed because I've given them opportunity to do the right thing. And I hold them responsible to do the right thing. I don't just meet and talk with my staff.
Did you sanction them? Or you cannot sanction them?
Oh, well, you know, I rebuke them, and I sanction them, and I suspend them, and sometimes I fire them.
Mayor, let's return to Sodom and Gomorrah, because Sodom and Gomorrah is extraordinary. Sorry, Old Fadama, I'm wary of this.
Yes.
Old Fadama, I mean, the Kole Lagoon
Yes.
is quite a pitiful sight. I mean, and there's a facility there that is slightly under $100 million that was put there a couple of years ago to help try and clean up the place and so on. Yeah. It is a white elephant, like many white elephants. How is that possible? And I know that you ask for more money and that people offer more money. Money doesn't seem to solve anything.
Yes. You see, Kole Lagoon naturally was placed here to serve us. Today is gone.
Leadership?
Because of negligence on part of leadership.
So you agree?
Yes, over the years, I've told you. You know, we have not been able to take hard decisions.
What are you going to do about it?
I will do what is right. That will endure to the benefit of the people. You understand?
Let's speak about the rains, which are just about a month away.
Yes.
And the Odo, which is totally choked.
Yes. Yes.
There's no evidence of anything being done about that. Is it not going to flood again?
There's evidence.
What is happening?
Okay, things are happening, my brother. Look, great things are happening. Because on the 26th, when the rains came and the flooding happened, this president, 8 o'clock in the morning, called me. He asked me, he said, Alfred, has somebody looked at how much money we would need to fix this situation? And I said, yes, we would need 500 million. Quickly, the president invited the UN representative, Ruby, to the castle. We met with him. So we quickly, first phase, mobilized resources to begin desilting the drain.
Mayor,
you understand?
It's very interesting to hear you say that. I have seen Urban 1, Urban 2, Urban Sanitation 1, Urban Sanitation 2, World Bank projects.
Yeah.
10 years in this country. I'm sure $1 billion has gone into it.
Yes.
Much of it into infrastructure.
Yes.
Doesn't make any difference.
My brother, it makes a difference.
But if you're going to create drains that people are going to put refuse in,
No, please, look, this is how I do my work. I have understudied the previous mayors. I want to build upon what they did.
There's room for plenty improvement.
Exactly, and I take responsibility for that. And I take also the commitment to build upon what they did. Look, the last issue with the Kole Lagoon restoration, I don't mean to criticize it, but all the necessary measures were not put in place. So it quickly reversed itself to where we are today. So if we're going to do something, then we need to do something better. And what something better is that, look, we need to control the environment around all our river bodies. You understand? We need to control, we need to put measures around the Odo River. We need to make sure that we do not allow people to build along this river channels.
But that's precisely the point. All that you say is meaningless without enforcement of the laws.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That's why I am one who is prepared to enforce. Today, if you go to Circle, you do not see and will not see, and you will never see, as long as I'm in office, you will never see the illegal structures that existed at New Plant Station. We have cleared it. And because we cleared it, we were able to put equipment into the Odo River, and we have desilted it. You understand? We are going to extend that activity. But the good thing is that once we clear those activities, the people of Sodom and Gomorrah quickly ran to this office. They said, Mayor, we know you are coming to Sodom and Gomorrah. Please don't come. You tell us, we want to take responsibility. You tell us how far you want us to move away from the colony.
What is the future of Sodom and Gomorrah?
The future of Sodom and Gomorrah, ultimately, when we have moved the commercial activities, you understand, Sodom and Gomorrah will be a thing of the past. But we have to deal with it now.
Yes, but the way you want to deal with it, I want to understand that first, sir.
Yes.
You're saying to me that the way you're going to deal with it, meaning essentially that get rid of such large numbers of people.
No, I am not.
What is your...
Okay.
I mean, what you're saying is that you remove the commercial activity that they rely on so that they move somewhere else. Is that the point?
Let me put things in perspective for you, because I think this is very, very important.
It is.
If we want to deal with the condition there today because of the rains, what do we need to do? And I'm saying what we need to do is that we need to separate Sodom and Gomorrah from the river, from the Koli Lagoon. We need to move the residents away.
Where to?
We need to move them away from, and they themselves have done some of it. We will go in and make sure that they have moved.
100,000 people?
They have already done some of it. They have already undertaken that. And I can take you there and show you. I think we are moving 100 meters, 100 feet away from the river channel. You understand? So that we can take control of that environment, wall it away from the community. Put sanitation arrangements along that area, and then begin to desilt the Koli Lagoon itself, so that now we can have a passage between the Odo River and the Koli Lagoon, and then eventually between those two rivers and the ocean.
The people in Old Fadama, called Sodom and Gomorrah, again we have to, are asking for proper sanitation facilities, power, water, drains, just so that they can also live in a decent environment like other people in this city. Do you accept that? Will you do that for them?
The Accra Metropolitan Assembly has said that Sodom and Gomorrah must go.
That's your plan?
That is the plan of the city. And so far as that plan stands, I am on the obligation to honor that decision.
And it must go because of what?
It must go because it is not an identifiable area for city planning facilities. That decision.
So they've encroached upon the area essentially.
Well, they have,
and they've been allowed to do this.
Yes.
But they said to me yesterday, people go around and say it's an illegal settlement, especially the public service politicians. They call us an illegal settlement.
Yes.
As soon as it's time for election, they come around this place and they want our vote. They want illegal settlements to vote for them.
Look, that is the argument that some people want to make. I do not want to be part of that.
Right.
You understand? The issue is that right now, some few months from now, we have an issue with the rains that will come. And when the rains come, if we don't do something now, we will have more destruction and more people and more lives will be lost.
And you feel you're on course?
Yes, we are on course. That is why we want to deal with the situation in a way that it will not affect the people who live in Sodom and Gomorrah so much, but it will also make room for us to deal with the environmental issues so that the city would create the necessary environment that will endure to the benefit of the big picture that is the majority of the people. And that is what we are trying to do. So the issue is not about whether we are going to move Sodom and Gomorrah or not, and if we are going to move them, the vote and this. Please, we should put that aside. The point is that we have rains coming, and if we sat down, we didn't do anything, the rains will come, and we might not even be able to vote. You understand? Because we may have emergency on our hands, and we want to solve it. The president now has been able to, he has sought the money, he's promised, he's fulfilled his promise. He said, I will seek the money. Today, we have the opportunity of getting the money. We need to put plans in place so that we can go ahead and do what we need to do.
Finally, sir, are you comfortable that when the rains come this year, and it's almost upon us, the sort of situation and disaster that we saw the last time round will not occur?
Well, you know, if we don't do what we have to do.
But I don't understand that. It is your job to do it.
That's why I'm saying that if we don't do it, I am willing to do it. That's why you see me out there. And that's why I'm going to do it. We're going to work hard to do what we have to do. Before this money will come in, it needs parliamentary approval. So I hope when it goes to Parliament, Parliament would, you know, approve it. Once they okay, it will open the gate for the money to come in. Then we can do the things that we need to do. We need to treat it as something that is urgent, and then get the funds in and then arrest this situation. So you see, I can only do it if Parliament okays it. And I'm asking Parliament to okay it so that the money will come. We will do what we have to do. We shouldn't play politics with it.
Is it possible for you to raise resources? Is that something that you would have preferred? I mean, there are some that argue that property rates, for example, are very low, and that if those sorts of things were reviewed, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly would have more resources and would be able to do the things it wants. You don't have any money. You depend on government. I mean, here you are waiting for parliamentary approval. This is all part of the problem, isn't it, sir?
Yes, it's all part of the problem. But we are taking the necessary steps. For example, you know, we have to first show evidence of efficiency in our property rate collection. Last year, we did a good job over the previous year. We increased our revenue collection by 66%. You understand? We also have to capture all of our, you know, residents, property owners who have to pay property rate and collect them. But whilst we are doing so, we also need to, you know, make room for reviewing of the current status of what people pay.
Do you have competent people here? Do you think, I mean, because look, in the link, Mayor, it's all boils down to resources as well, doesn't it? I mean, urban planners, people to enforce numbers.
Yes.
Are these part of your challenge or not?
Yes, it's part of the challenge. We need to get we need to have the capacity, you know.
Improve the local capacity.
Improve it. We need, there are various challenges.
And you're working on these things.
Yeah, we are working on these things.
But you can't if you don't have resources. Again, you know, it gets back to relying on central government.
You see, well,
central government.
Let me tell you my honest opinion on this.
Right.
The time has come for this country to seriously look at what is called municipal, you know, funding. You understand? So that we will need to take away the control on district assemblies to have the ability to borrow, to have the ability to create funds for themselves and go to work. You know,
that is necessary.
That is very, very necessary. We need to give district assembly. District assembly need to stop depending on central government for common fund and these things. District assemblies have to create their own wealth, and they need to create their, you know, that innovation. That is how districts and cities, for example, I can see in Ghana that the time has come for all of our metropolitan assemblies, at least them, the metropolitan assemblies, to be given the free hand to, you know, be able. We have to trust the district assembly.
So you can raise revenue.
So we can raise
and
revenue.
do the things you want
and
to
do the things that
Mayor
we
Van der Poy, thank you very much. I really appreciate this interview. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, the mayor seems to suggest that he's got everything under control, but the truth of the pudding is in the eating. The rains are here with us in the next couple of months, and we shall return to this subject. After all, the buck stops with the mayor.